Welcome back to another Cranky Yankee breakdown. Today we're going to talk about the FP2 session, which at the Russian Grand Prix in particular, I feel like I'm never talking about interesting FP2s, but this one was. And we're going to talk about why, and we're going to talk about what this really means for qualification itself and in the race coming off of that. So before we do, if you're into breaking F1 news, make sure to subscribe. That's what this channel is here for. Now that the website's built and the blog is built, I can give you a lot more of the breakdown. I can give you these sorts of quick updates and alerts a lot faster and hopefully faster than anyone else. So I'll try to give you 4K content as fast as possible. But check the description below for the actual full details of the session. But I'll read off the positions, I'll read off the interesting notes, I'll read off the qualification sims, and also the race sims, which that's where we get to the interesting part. So just to recap, we'll read off the session notes. So the 1-2 actually switched. So you had Verstappen in second last time and Leclerc leading FP1. Those flopped. You've got Verstappen leading FP2 with Leclerc just behind him. So Verstappen ran a 1:33.162 as a best time, but he ran 29 laps. Leclerc just behind him at a 1:33. Spot 497 with 33 laps, and Valtteri was significantly less laps with 22 coming in third for the session. Now, really the big news here is not that Sebastian Vettel is conspicuously absent from those, top four. He was split by both Mercedes and obviously the Red Bull, but it's really that the Mercedes, in particular Lewis, did not look good. And I'm not really sure, I'm still breaking down I wish I could show a lot more of the behind the driver POV in terms of the onboards. You guys know the deal. They won't let me. But Lewis did not look good. He did not look nimble. He really did struggle. And this can't be sandbagging unless he's going out of his way to just not drive well. But this will show in the actual when I talk about the quali. So let's just kind of get into that. So that kind of rounds out your top five. You got Lewis in fourth, Vettel in fifth. Pierre looks really good. He had a really good day. He's actually had a decent weekend so far. Pierre's in sixth, Sergio's in seventh. Nico with a very impressive, again, he's driving for his life. A very impressive eighth. Lance Stroll in ninth. Could this be where he gets out of Q3? He gets out of Q1, hopefully into Q3. That would be great to see. And then Albon in 10th. Albon, I don't know. I don't think I get a little bit worried about Albon in this session in particular because he really didn't have a reason. The only thing I want to say about Albon, if you missed FP2, was that he had some floor problems. It was off most of the session. So when he came back on, you kind of feel like he was driving he had something to prove. So he only got 18 laps out, but he really was struggling. So let's get into the sims. And then, so I've got some animated circle charts over on the blog. Check it out if you want, but doesn't matter if you don't, because I'm just going to tell you. So the quali sims, that's where Verstappen set the times. That's where all these fast times came, of course, just like they do in every FP2. So Verstappen ran the 1:33, 1:62. Leclerc was plus 0.335, so not terribly close. Valtteri was plus 0.776 in third. And Hamilton and Vettel followed. So there were a lot of traffic problems, as there always are. So not all of these were super, super clean. But I will say this was pretty true to form. When you look at Verstappen and Leclerc going back and forth, it's a shame that Verstappen's got that grid penalty because he's got the fresh engine. Again, it's probably setting it up for Suzuka. And I think they really want to have a good race next race. You always see people or the teams kind of setting up FP1 and running all their sims for the next race. So it looks like that's what they're doing and why they chose to take this penalty. There's no upgrade per se, but they're just taking the penalty here, and I obviously it's because of Suzuka. So keep that in mind. But it would be a really good fight, and that's why in my prediction I have Verstappen being driver of the day, because the engine I figured was going to be good here. One ahead of their home race. I knew they were going to turn it up, and he's going to have to fight through after this penalty. So he's just going to look like a rock star. So I still think he's going to get driver of the day. The other prediction was, and especially after FP2 this holds, was that Vettel and Ferrari are going to take be on the front row. So I still think that holds. I still think Vettel didn't have the cleanest of laps, but he did have the best race sim. So The quality sims were what I just read off. But now let's get to the interesting thing, which were the race sims. And so I've got a bunch of notes, but it's easier just to give you the summary. The Red Bull, the Ferrari look better over the longer hauls when they were running on the soft. So I've got the soft comparisons right here. So on softs, Vettel was running laps. He did 11 laps at 138.8, with Verstappen at a 139.1, Hamilton at a 140.6, but he only did that on 3 laps, but still, it did not look good. He was sliding around. He was really having trouble with his stability. And Valtteri at a 139.5, so he's almost a full second clear of Hamilton on the softs running. You got to think there's probably some fuel difference, but it is something to keep in mind. Hamilton doesn't look good, and coming off a Singapore, which he was very vocal about doing better, I think this really will lead to Hamilton driving a little bit more, not erratic, but he's just, I feel like he's really going to be very aggressive, which could be good and could be bad. But when you look at these lap times, you're not used to seeing Hamilton kind of just not there. There was no real issue. He didn't have to abort his laps. There was no problem. It just wasn't there. And I think a lot of people are kind of cheering for that because, it's good to see Hamilton get his elbows out and see a world champion kind of have to drive for it. And not that he didn't before, but so this will be, I think this will really be interesting. So be on the lookout for Hamilton to be pretty aggressive, but the Mercs, in particular Hamilton, just looked heavy. So those are the race sims on medium. So if you are looking at the times wondering what's going on, that's what they are. But the top times were the quali sims. Those don't always hold perfectly. They are pretty close. I would say more than 95% of the time, the quality sims are pretty close to what quality ends up being from FP2. So I bet that holds pretty clear, and I think the only switch up will be Vettel will have a significantly better day. He did have some traffic, and so he did have a little bit of a compromise situation, but I still had Vettel taking pole. And I guess FP3 will show everything. So I certainly will be giving you the FP3 with the smallest window. I'll be on it. Rest assured of that. But thanks for checking this out. This one's a little bit longer, but I wanted to take you through the racing quality sims. Check out the link below if you want to read it in detail. And I'll see you guys soon, but I appreciate the support. Like, subscribe, and share.